Easy Polish with Dorota Cooper. Everything you need to know about Polish prepositions. Part 1. Prepositions are functional words used to clarify the relationship between other words in the sentence. In English, these are mostly short words like about, on, or with. In Polish, just as in English, it is often nearly impossible to express even a simple thought without the help of a couple of prepositions. That is why you should learn them quite early. Without them, you will find it rather difficult to form coherent sentences. If your goal is to understand spoken and written Polish, you will be fine if you just learn the translations of each preposition. You will probably find some parallels in the use of individual prepositions in the two languages. Try to take advantage of them, but do not expect them to work in each and every context. On the other hand, if you want to be able to formulate correct Polish sentences, you should pay attention to one more thing: the grammatical case that should go with each specific sense of the given preposition. The Polish preposition o. Let's say you want to say, let's talk about this problem in Polish. Knowing that about usually translates to o won't be enough to produce a well-formed sentence. You need to learn what grammatical case should be applied to the phrase following the preposition. If you are blanking out, you can take the easy way out and just use the basic dictionary form. Mianownik, the nominative case. Kto, co. Porozmawiajmy o ten problem. You will be understood, but do not expect to score any extra points with the natives. If you want to form a fully grammatical sentence, you should put the phrase that is modified by the preposition in miejscownik, the locative case. O kim, o czym. Why miejscownik, the locative? There is really no simple explanation, and most Poles would just shrug the shoulders at the question, so let's not dwell on that. Here is how a well-formed translation of let's talk about this problem should look like. Porozmawiajmy o tym problemie. You can change the first half of the sentence to something completely different, as long as the type of the relationship between the verb and the object connected by the preposition is more or less the same. You can count on the preposition o Tu trigger miejscownik the locative case o kim, o czym. To illustrate that, here is another similar sentence requiring miejscownik the locative o kim, o czym. Nie wiedziałem o tym problemie. I didn't know about this problem. You will be right to point out that the relationship between the verb and the object is a very fuzzy criterion to apply when deciding on which case to use. Of course, it is not like Poles contemplate the nature of their reality each time they use a preposition. It is just something you have to internalize by exposing yourself to the language. Let's take a look at one more sentence. Mary pisze książkę o ekonomii. Mary is writing a book about economics. Even though the subject of the sentence is completely different, the preposition o is still followed by the locative. Looking at the three sentences we have discussed so far, you might be tempted to conclude that all English prepositional phrases with about translate into o plus miejscownik locative o kim, o czym. And of course, there is a catch. Some verbs combined with o, a primary example being pytać o, to ask about, require the object to take the narzędnik accusative case rather than the locative case. Here is an example sentence. Tom pytał o twoją siostrę. Tom asked about your sister. Needless to say, most prepositions can be used in various contexts. This means that in some expressions, or might correspond to different English prepositions. So instead of always being tied to about, it can also be translated as at or for. Take a look at the next two sentences. Jem śniadanie o 9:00. I eat breakfast at 9. Julia prosi mamę o nowy komputer. Julia asks her mom for a new computer. All this might seem a little confusing at first, and no wonder if your mother tongue is English, you are not used to thinking about prepositions as something that might affect the form of the following word. While it is theoretically possible to learn all the use cases by heart, a much more practical way to approach this challenge would be to expose yourself to as many Polish sentences as possible. Sooner or later, you will get the hang of it. And even if you make the occasional mistake, you will still be very likely to be understood. Now let's move on to another preposition. Please look out for part 2. Thank you very much. To wszystko na dzisiaj. Do zobaczenia. Poland, stay classy.